What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of DC and RC. I'm Daniel Cormier, your friendly neighborhood UFC double champion. This is my guy, Super Bowl football winning partner, Ryan Clark. And guys, hey, we're together in Houston.
Man, we're together in Houston. You know what? The UFC gave us the gift, man. They brought you closer to me, and so now I get a chance to hang out a little bit.
With the busy schedule, you can't ask Ryan Clark to go to Florida, or you can't ask him to go to Vegas, California. But if you're in Texas, it's a 45-minute flight.
I can see
if
you.
It's a close flight, yeah, I'll do it. I'll get there. Now, listen, RC, this is a big time for everything because we have so much going on. The Olympics are going on. I mean, we have the conversation about what McKee did last weekend, which was fantastic. We have the preview of the pay-per-view main event this week, Derrick Lewis.
Which I'm excited about.
Honestly, but first and foremost, what
we got?
We got to talk about our friend. Your friend.
My
friend. The future UFC lightweight champion of the world.
Hold your horses.
Islam Makhachev, RDA. We knew the fight was coming up. But now that it's official, what's the excitement level to watch Islam dominate the way that he did?
And so I already know how it's going to go. People are going to say, hey, RC, you said Islam Makhachev is boring. But I don't think that, right? I don't think he's boring. We've seen him be exciting, and I'm looking for that exciting Islam to show up against RDA. Now, listen, DC, you know how trash talk works.
Yep.
He's trash talked a legend, right? A former champion. How do you see this playing out? Are you excited, or as his real friend, are you a little scared for this matchup?
Oh, I'm not scared. Let me tell you one thing I'm not afraid. You know, when I talk about Islam, I know a guy, how hard he trains, how committed he is to fighting. But I also know that with his background and with where he's come from, you know, in Dagestan, those guys had nothing, man. A lot of times when you're fighting for life, fighting to survive, you can go to heights that you never thought imaginable. But also with his competition background, right? Sambo world champion, UFC fighter, the ability to wrestle and compete at the highest level, I think that's what's going to have to carry Islam in this fight, because for everyone that he's fought, for all the guys that he's ever been in the octagon with, he's never seen anybody like RDA, right? For no matter what people think, you know, you're his friend, you're not his friend, you're his manager, you got to respect RDA for all that he's done.
And also, if you're Islam, you have to understand that this is a step up in competition. This is an opportunity in the UFC to prove what Islam has been saying he was the entire time, with what you have been saying, what Khabib has been saying about him. And to me, that's the most exciting thing. If we get what I dubbed a boring performance, right, that we saw. If we get one of those against RDA, it's different because it's dominant. It's reminiscent of what we saw Khabib do to the Poiriers, do to the Gaethjes, do to the McGregors, and that's why I'm extremely excited about this matchup.
Well, if you could do it to somebody with such a high level, RDA is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. RDA is a former UFC champion. RDA is a guy that is going to go into the UFC record books and into the Hall of Fame, right? And not only is RDA good for all the things that he's done in the past, RDA is good for what he showed in his return to 155 against Paul Felder.
Absolutely.
I mean, he looked fantastic.
He looked fantastic, right? That was a back-and-forth fight against someone else that we respect in this game. And so that's what Islam is facing. It's also his opportunity, though, to prove to the world, I am worthy of this top 5 ranking. I am everything I said I was. And when you call a guy out, though, when you call a dude by name and you get that dude, you know what it is. Like for me, if we doing one-on-ones at practice and I'm like, nah, I want Antonio Brown. Nah, I want Hines.
You got to guard him up.
When that dude walks out there, I have to step up because now the pressure's on me, and that's what Islam Makhachev is now.
You called out Hines Ward in one-on-ones. I mean, why would you call out Hines Ward?
Absolutely.
He was a beast.
No, but you want to call out Hines Ward before you call out somebody fast, right? You have to call out a dude that your speed matches his speed.
Yeah, he's going to get you on the route running, though.
Bro, Hines Ward ain't have ACLs. He got in a bicycle accident as a kid and didn't have ACLs
and he did what he did
that well in the NFL.
Jeez,
he was a different type of dude.
He was a different
Can you fight in the UFC without ACLs?
I mean, honestly, you can, right? You can get through stuff, but the lateral movements and everything are a lot different, right? A lot of things are different. But, you know, when you talk about RDA and Islam, I feel like this fight, RC, is going to have to tell us, honestly, who's in line. I know it's hard to say when you've got guys like Chandler and Gaethje fighting, but when Islam fights RDA, right? And for all the fights, Islam's 1 in a row. And for all the fights, RDA will have 1 in a row. If he gets past Islam, right, that'll be 2 in a row, back at 155 after being successful up at 170. Now you got to start to consider whether or not this guy gets another shot at the title. So I truly believe that this is going to be a #1 contenders fight because Chandler just fought for the belt, right? Gaethje just fought for the belt against Habib. And if you're looking to get new, fresh matchups, then you got to start to kind of look at that RDA versus Islam fight and think one of these guys has to show me like that they deserve a championship opportunity. It's crazy.
Listen, it's such a tough division, and it's actually a division with stars that are beyond the champion. And we're not used to seeing that. Usually when a guy like Charles Oliveira wins the championship, you're not talking about who's next in the pecking order, feeling this way about him with this type of excitement, this type of reverence, this type of understanding of, okay, this guy could be the next champion. This guy could hold the belt, and that's where we are.
But that's probably because I think people are still kind of disrespecting Charles Oliveira.
100%.
Because normally when you got a champion, you don't go, this guy may be a future champ. This guy's maybe a future champ, right? I think people are living in what they saw from Charles in the past and not the Charles Oliveira of today. And I know when we saw him in Vegas, you saw how big Charles Oliveira is for 155 pounds?
Like, you know, every guy that walked off the stage, I'm going to be honest, DC, I sized him up, right? Because I was thinking to myself, as a former football player, a guy that walks around over 200 pounds, could I take that dude? Well, this dude is 5'7". Can I take him? And Charles walks up on me. If you've never been close to him, you don't understand how wide his shoulders are, how long his arms are. But I want to tell you this, though, DC. You never get another chance or a second chance to make a first impression. Right? We saw Charles Oliveira struggle early, right? We saw him not be able to handle adversity. And I think for so many people, even though you come back after a bad first round against Chandler and get the knockout, it's so hard to forget those things. And that's where we are with it.
I thought that, and I know we were talking about Islam and RDA, but now we're on the champ.
Moved off.
I know we're on the champ now, but the thing about Oliveira for me was that because of what he did, because of him bouncing back and showing that in that adversity, he was able to dig through and overcome to become the champion, shows the maturity. But I get what you're saying about first impressions mean a lot.
Absolutely.
Right? It's hard to make people forget of the times that he got beat by so many guys. We're dealing with a different human being right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And whoever is going to step across the octagon with him will have their hands full. But first, we look to UFC 267 because that's going to be a fantastic fight between those two.
No, it's going to be a great fight. That's the fight I think that Islam needs. That's the fight that RDA wanted. This either puts Islam on the map or RDA back on the map. So it's going to be a treat for us fans.
It's going to be a fantastic fight. Now, last weekend, right, we had UFC, we had Bellator, we had bare knuckle fighting a couple weeks ago. We had so many different events. It was a massive weekend for fighting, right? There's boxing every weekend. But last weekend, the UFC hosted another fight from the Apex, and it was Sean Strickland versus Uriah Hall. Sean Strickland looked like a beast, like an absolute savage, fought with pace and pressure that was unreal. But he is so wild that we left that performance, a career-changing performance that puts him in the top 10 squarely, talking about what he said after. Let's take a listen to it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, man. If you like to hurt people, you're in the right sport, man. Like, I would love nothing more than to kill someone in the ring. Nothing more. To make me super happy. I would own that too. I don't know if it'd make me liable. I might have to say I'm sorry if the cops came, but I would own that. Own it, man. Be a psychopath. It's fun.
Ryan, I mean, Sean even looked like he had done too much, right? You could see that uncomfortable type of smile as he's walking away like, maybe I went too far, being that he had the biggest one of his career. You know, he's solely in the top 10. And for all that mixed martial arts has had to deal with to get to where they are today, from getting sanctioned in New York to the fight with the late Governor McKee, when people said that it was human cockfighting. This isn't a good look. And for Sean Strickland to win a fight in front of 1 million people, because that's what the ratings came back as, and they see him do that, what does that make you think about this sport?
You know, when a guy stands in the octagon and says that he'd be cooking meth, right? It really lowers the expectation of what the MMA or the UFC athlete is as a human. And that's okay, because you have to have a certain mindset to do this. But think about where this sport has come from and where it is now, DC. This is the fourth generation, right, of MMA fighter, where young kids, like guys like AJ McKee, are getting trained not to be wrestlers, right? They're not getting trained to be boxers or football players. They're training to be MMA professionals.
Yep.
And I think that's the word that we have to think of. Yeah, it is a situation where your mindset has to be violence. Your mindset has to be kill or be killed. But that last part's not literal.
No.
And when I look at you, someone as accomplished as you were in wrestling, and now you make the adjustment to learn other skills in order to become a champion, that's when I say, okay, you know what? There's a kid who can be that.
Yes.
Right? If you're a kid, you say, you know what? I want to get my son in wrestling. Maybe I can send him to DC's wrestling school. He can learn some of those things. One day become UFC champion, because it is held at that high of esteem. If that becomes your champion, that clip, that quote, that presser will be played from now until the end of his reign. And they'll say, you know what? You don't have to be smart. You don't necessarily have to work on your skill. You can be barbaric in your nature and become the top of this sport. And if we're trying to make it a sport, we can't have those type of things in our post-fight pressers when really, literally, somebody actually could die.
You know, that's crazy, because the reality is when you become a professional, right? I know we've seen it for as long as we can. I'm not a role model. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not this. But the reality is you hold a responsibility to people that see you. Because like I said, Sean Strickland fought in front of 1 million people. It peaked at 1 million people on ESPN last week, and watching him fight. And probably coming away from that fight going, that guy's a warrior.
Yes.
That guy has fighting spirit.
I was like that.
Yeah.
I was like
this
that.
Guy has fighting spirit, right? This guy's willing to go into the fire, and just with activity and his heart and desire, he can push himself through against a guy that in Uriah Hall, everybody thought was the more traditional.
Skilled fighter.
A skilled fighter and more traditional martial artist. And if you talk about traditional martial arts, it's all about honor. It's all about respect.
It is.
So now you're telling me that the guy that says that he has no career path outside of those things, and that he wants to harm someone in the octagon, can succeed at a higher level than the guy that lives by the martial arts code. I will say this to Sean Strickland directly. I will say this to him directly. Sean Strickland, you got to do better. You got to do better as a guy that's been there. You hold a responsibility now to our sport, the sport that we all love, and for the kids that are watching you perform, to hold yourself to a higher standard. And you can do it, because look at what you have done since you've gone up in weight classes. So get it together, young man, and make it right. Now, guess what? RC, when I talk about getting it together, a godsend for Sean Strickland, right?
Absolutely.
Change the conversation. We both know that when you're dealing in a bad media cycle, all you want is for the page to turn.
Absolutely.
Well, the page turned for Sean Strickland. He got a fight announced. He's going to Madison Square Garden, and now what is going to be the biggest bout of his career as he takes on the former champion, my buddy Luke Rockhold.
Yep.
This was a godsend for Sean Strickland, right? To get this fight announced right now.
This is perfect for him. And this is what happens, though. You know, they say, DC, they say winning cures all, right? And him winning this fight got him a fight, a step up in competition, a step up in name, a step up in venue, a step up in opportunity. Because that's what winning UFC fights in the fashion that he did against the person he wanted against gets you. And listen, man, and this is, I'm about to fanboy a little bit, right? And I'm sorry, DC, but when you know a dude has names like Machida, right? Vitor Belfort, right? Michael Bisping, Chris Weidman. When those guys are on your record, when you have fought against that level of competition, that level of greatness in name, that's a big deal. And now if you're Sean Strickland, you're another dude that's going to be on that resume. Now, this can be a win against a Luke Rockhold, a guy now you get to have an opportunity to have another presser and say, you know what? What I said last time, I get it, but I've moved on from that. And look at the way I fought tonight against who is truly, to at least a fan like me, a legend of this game.
You know what's crazy about it also is that for Sean Strickland, he gets a chance to go and make it right. But he gets a chance to go and make it right on a bigger stage.
Right.
This fight card is turning out to be one of the biggest ones of the entire year in Madison Square Garden, with the fights that are already announced. Sean Strickland can get past Luke Rockhold. He truly has an opportunity to do a lot of things and correct a lot of things that he may have dealt with in the past. But the reality is this. Luke Rockhold is still as difficult for anyone in the world. I know everybody talks about he doesn't have a chin. If you can hit him, you're going to knock him out.
You got to hit him.
He's not as good. You got to hit him.
You got to hit him.
Right? And he's been away for a while. He hasn't fought since he fought against Jan Blachowicz. But when you look back on the Blachowicz fight, Luke's first time up at 205, right? Gets knocked out bad. Blachowicz looks like, wow, how do you lose to a guy that's not that good? Well, time.
Look where it is now. Time reveals all.
Time reveals all, and time has allowed for that loss to age beautifully.
Absolutely.
Because Jan went on to knock out Corey Anderson, who's doing his thing in Bellator. Jan went out to knock out Dominic Reyes,
Fresh
who had
off of
fought
a
John Jones
fight.
so close. Jan then beats Israel Adesanya to show how valuable he is. So that loss has aged really well for Luke Rockhold.
Absolutely, and those are the things that you want to see happen after you lose to a guy like Jan Blachowicz, because that's a situation where it's like, oh, maybe your career is over. But you think about the knockout power, being able to knock out a Dominic Reyes, you say, oh, this dude is different, right? Dominic Reyes goes 5 rounds with John Jones.
And many people thought he won the fight.
Absolutely, and now you're knocked out, what was it, the second round?
Yeah,
and
he
so
got knocked
you're
out
showing,
bad, too.
so now, but if you're Luke Rockhold, and you know this better than me, DC, you understand your back is against the wall. You understand how people are looking at you. You've been away from the sport, as you said, and you hear the question marks. Can my chin hold up? Where you're fighting a guy in Sean Strickland who's a volume guy.
Yeah, he's not a guy that just puts you to sleep.
Exactly, he's a volume guy, so you feel you can devise a plan where you can use your skill, use your experience to get this win. And so he has to be excited about this matchup too, against a dude whose name is now ringing. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, when I saw the Uriah Hall, Sean Strickland trailer, I got excited. My son, who's in the mixed martial arts as much as me, he was so excited about the ESPN Plus. He said, you know what? I like this Strickland guy. He's talking about violence. Now he gets another chance to show us that.
You know, the thing about Rockhold and the Strickland fight, it got offered to him earlier. He told me about it. You know, it doesn't get me excited. I want something that's going to get the juices flowing for a former champion. But then now, a week after he beats a Uriah Hall, that fight gets announced because now Sean Strickland becomes more viable. Sean Strickland's name has a little bit more momentum, and now Luke Rockhold can see himself standing across the octagon from him.
Nah, listen, and that's huge, DC, but you know, you have the promo code now, so some reason you get all the reads, so I'll let you give a little holler or a little shout out to our friends.
Our friends over at Keeps. Now, guys, 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss by the time they're 35. The reason I read the Keeps article is because I have no hair. That's why I get it. Keeps offers a simple, stress-free way to keep your hair with convenient virtual doctor consultants and medications delivered straight to your door every 3 months. Guys, you don't even have to leave your home. Keeps is low cost. The treatments start at just $10 a month, and Keeps offers generic versions. Prevention is key. Treatment can take 4 to 6 months to see results, so act fast. And if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/DC to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/DC to get your first month free. Keeps.com/DC. Hey, RC. I'm no expert at keeping my hair.
No,
you still got
but you see the waves, though.
You still got the waves, but I'm the target audience, man. That's why I got to read the Keeps read.
Okay, so DC, we talked a little bit of Sean Strickland, Uriah Hall off that fight night card, but another huge story was Cheyenne Buys after her win over Gloria DePaula, which was eye-opening,
yes.
right? We looked at it and we said, okay, this is a career-defining win, but it was more so about what she said after the fight than what she did during the fight.
I've been so broke my whole life because of this sport, but it's so worth it to me because I love this sport. But to get a $50,000 paycheck, you know, my husband's going to tell me to put it away. I'm definitely going to want to buy some nice stuff, but, you know, I like to buy a little bit of things for the house and for my animals. I really like to spoil my family, but, you know, this week I'm definitely taking my team to go get a nice dinner. So it's life-changing for sure, but I just, you know, got to put the money away and just go out there and fight again.
You know, Cheyenne Buys has a lot of financial difficulties, and she was very transparent about that. But as you said, RC, life-changing performance, but the money can be life-changing also as she took home her first performance of the night bonus. But honestly, man, the struggle of becoming a mixed martial artist is not lost on me because I dealt with a lot of those times early in my career also.
DC, you had a quote from 2015, and I want to read it back to you. We had nothing. Selena and I had nothing. We had a 700 square foot apartment in San Jose, California, 1 bedroom, and we had no money. And my family has no money down in Louisiana. We were on welfare. We called my parents, and they don't have much. But my mom, my dad, my brothers, and my sister-in-law, they pulled together whatever they had, $575, and they sent it to Selena and I. To hear a story like that, DC, coming from football, which is different, it's almost like when you make it, you at least have something. How common is Cheyenne Bai's story, and how common is your story for people who fight in the UFC or who are mixed martial artists?
You know, honestly, it's very common, you know, because there is no signing bonus, right? There's no signing bonus to start fighting mixed martial arts. She said that it's hard to live this dream, and she's been broke a lot trying to live this dream. But I think that when you look at how difficult it is in fight sports, because guys, this is not just mixed martial arts. Make no mistake about it. This is not just the UFC. This is across the board. In boxing, when you're trying to make your way up, unless you're an Olympian that came home with a medal, there are no big contracts. Yes, Andre Ward made money immediately. Deontay Wilder made money immediately. But there were a number of other guys on that Olympic team that didn't make money immediately. They fought for little money to start. But I truly believe that if you go back as far as even Rocky the movies, man, right? Rocky living in the small apartment, trying to become, living in the gym.
Right, before he got too big for his britches and Clubber Lang beat him up.
Come on, man.
Right, before he was swimming around with the Labrador Retriever or whatever it was in the pool at the big house.
I think we all struggle a little bit when we get to the big house at times, right? That's why Marvin Hagler said, hard to be motivated when you're sleeping on satin sheets.
Absolutely.
Great Marvin Hagler. But it feels like it's a story of the journey. And you hope that Cheyenne Bais, with this money, can now start to focus more on her career. And we've seen that, right? So it's common. We've seen people come into the UFC, fight, make some money, get a bonus, and go, now I can quit my job, right? So it's very common, especially early. But what you don't hear very often is established people in the octagon, in Bellator, in boxing, saying those same types of things.
Well, I think it's part of the journey, and I believe for football players and for players in other sports, that's what high school is like, or that's what college is like when you're living off of stipends. And so there's not necessarily a minor league to mixed martial arts, whereas people can see you going through the ranks and understand that, you know what, right now you're going to be a little broke, but when you, and let's keep it honest, when you do see a young lady and she's saying these type of things, you're like, man, I wish it was better for her, not really thinking to yourself, this is what the journey is. This is the start. But that's why when we look at the pictures of you, even when we were showing the quotes with the 2 belts on your shoulders and the smile on your face and the joy in your eyes, it's because you can look back to where that journey started and say, you know what, look how far I've come, look what we've come through, and now you say, you know what, I've made it.
And you can honestly go and tell people that. I can go tell Cheyenne Bais. I can go tell every single athlete that you see go through that. Brighter days are coming, as you see right now with that bonus. And honestly, when you go through that, and I tell this to my guys constantly, the Kyle Crutchmers, Nick Piccinini's, Jacoby Smith, Deron Wynn, all the guys that are starting, that are under my wing, I tell them, embrace this journey. Bro, there was a time at one point when we were in Bob Cook's house. I lived there. Cain Velasquez lived there. Phil Davis lived there. Luke Rockhold lived there. We were all living, all champions, right? So it's like Bob's house has made so many champions, but you got to go through the journey. You have to go through the journey in order to get to where you want to get and appreciate everything that you ultimately have at your fingertips when it's all said and done. But now we got to get to our friend. We got to get to our friend at Manscaped. Breaking news. This is important PSA brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is now available for purchase in the USA and Canada. I am one of the first people to try the new 4.0, and I gotta say, I'm blown away by the performance. The craftsmanship, the details on the 4.0, they're all next level. So join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DC at manscaped.com. Listen, guys, if you're still trimming your face with your body trimmer, it's time to make some changes. So get 20% off Free shipping with the code DC at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. And use code DC. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Come on, man. You can't be passing that on your legs. You can't be passing it all over your legs and your body and putting it on your face.
Listen, body to face is not the way that it can work. But Saturday was a great night, right? Saturday was a night where you hit me up because you saw I had the iPad out. I had the TV on because I wanted to see A.J. McKee, who eventually shocked the world by beating the Pit Bull to win the Bellator Grand Prix. And then after that, we know this dude's a trash talker, right? He comes out to the Snoop Dogg. He got the Louis Vuitton bucket hat on, right? A big-time star. The crowd is electric. He's in his hometown. He's at the Forum. But a little bit of trash talk after. He's talking about fighting Volkanovski, fighting Max Holloway. He's talking about putting up $1 million to fight the Ortegas of the world. Where does he stack up with the rest of the top featherweights in the world? Not just in where he's fighting in his organization, but in the UFC as well.
Well, let me be honest with you. You alluded to it a bit. A.J. McKee in the walkout, dude, it felt like a star. Dude felt like a star. I mean, ain't nothing but a G thing.
Yes, sir.
In Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
Like, that was crazy. Watching this young man walk out and know that in that moment, RC, as you alluded to earlier, you alluded to how kids are being trained to become mixed martial artists. I think that was the evolution and a game plan that Scott Cochran put in that play a few years ago with those young athletes. A.J. McKee is now a guy that had his, and this is one of my facts from one of my buddies out at MMA History Today. Hey, A.J. McKee had his professional debut in Bellator, and now he's 18-0 and 19-0 as the champion. So it was the plan in place that got completed last weekend. But the dude's the real deal. He's very tough. He has all the skill in the world. But Max Holloway and all those dudes, that's some big fights to be asking for Alexander Volkanovski. But you know what you and I talked about a little bit was A.J. McKee feels like he has the keys to opening up a more urban type of fan base to mixed martial arts.
Yeah, and you know, this is something I think the UFC is missing. You know, they've had John Jones, but I don't necessarily believe that John embraced the culture like many of those kids in LA or some of the people that were screaming for him, for A.J. McKee at the Forum. And then there's Israel Adesanya, but let's be frank, like, he's not even from here, right? And Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, those people don't necessarily connect to the African-American culture the way a kid like A.J. McKee is. You know, the charisma, the trash talk, being able to talk about the things that are involved in that culture. I think that would be so huge for the UFC or for Bellator to tap into. Early on, when we were talking about Sean Strickland, I talked to you a little bit about people that were raised to be a part of the sport. I always knew I was going to play football. From the first time they put one in my hand, I knew what to do with it, and I knew I wanted to be like Randall Cunningham because I played quarterback. He was a black quarterback, and we had the same initials, period. I knew that. There's going to be some kids that can see A.J. McKee and say, you know what? I know that he wrestled coming up. I know that he got into jiu-jitsu. I know that he worked on his stand-up, and now he's the champion of the world. Someone like him is so important to the expansion of mixed martial arts, and he needs to be paid like it. And I think Bellator knew that already, but now with some of this Max Holloway, Brian Ortega talk, maybe the UFC will take notice as well.
There is big money in A.J. McKee's future. If anyone knows what winning a Grand Prix can do for you, it's this guy right here, right? It's this guy right here that knows what winning a Grand Prix can do for you. Now, A.J. McKee's he's going to be a star, right? But we're in Houston for a reason. Right? And guys that are already stars are fighting on Saturday night. And I'm talking about one guy that his name resonates and people love him. He's okay. She's okay. The Black Beast, Derrick Lewis, gets to walk out in front of his hometown. Not his hometown, sorry, his adopted hometown of Houston. He's from New Orleans originally, as he takes on Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight championship of the world. Now, I ask you this, RC. We love to talk about the matchups. We won't do that. We want to talk the story. To you, what's more exciting? Derrick Lewis and Francis Ngannou fighting again, and what was one of the worst fights in the UFC's history, if we're being honest.
You said the history?
In history of the UFC. Bro, I was in the back waiting to fight Stipe, falling asleep because these dudes would not touch each other. They were running around in the circle, not doing anything. But if you look at the Black Beast, look at this. This dude's got wins, knockouts. He does everything, so you know he can be exciting. So are you excited about that rematch, hoping it's better, or Ciryl Gane winning, having Coach Fernando Lopez in his corner, who was Francis's coach in his
Why
first
you being
title
petty,
fight.
bro? Why are you being petty?
I am so messy. You have no idea how messy I am.
This has nothing to do with the actual fight,
listen,
DC.
It don't matter. I'm messy, Ryan. I'm the person that's sitting on the porch starting fights between the kids in the neighborhood. It's what I do. I love it.
DC,
so can I please?
all the MMA fans think that I'm here to be the petty, messy one, and you're going to give us all this great analysis of the fight.
No, I'm not giving.
You about to do this on the show right now?
I want to know for you. Are you into the pettiness? Because Francis left Fernand. So now Fernand has built another guy who's undefeated, and he can go to Francis if he fights him and go, my guy became the champ as an undefeated fighter. So what? So why did Francis leave his coach though? Was there a reason? Did he say anything? You know, it just seemed like it all fell apart after the loss in Boston to Stipe, right? He kind of moved. He left France. He moved to the U.S. full time and became the champ. So obviously he made the right decision. But now, isn't it like a tale as old as time? It's like an old karate movie from the 80s where you leave your sensei and then he gets a new guy to go get you, you know?
Yeah, but so I'm not going to do like you and turn my back on Popeyes like you did, which made Derrick not like you in the first place. I don't
understand that.
Yeah, I can't believe you turned your back on Popeyes. You know, he's a New Orleans guy, now in Houston, but that story does resonate to me. To have an opportunity to talk about a coach, and the word you use that keeps ringing in my ear is built another guy. You see what I'm saying? So taking a guy from scratch, a guy who is big like you, and now giving him this different skills, right? We've seen Ciryl Gane get into the octagon and submit guys, right? We've seen him use his power. We've seen him use his kicks. Honestly, show us a different array of skill that we never saw with Francis Ngannou, especially early like this. But for me to say that I don't want to see Derrick Lewis and win this fight and get an opportunity to show us that standing on the outside of Francis Ngannou is not something that he's going to do a second time.
But look at this, though, man. Look at the list that Ciryl Gane can join if he wins this weekend. Francis Ngannou, Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez, Randy Couture. Those are names that will live in the history of mixed martial arts. But for me, I think about Ciryl Gane, and he's a soft-spoken guy, right? He understands that he's not a big-time trash talker. Right. He talks with his hands and his feet and his movement. And I really do believe that when I look at him, I just had a chill. Did you see? Ooh, I just had a big chill up in there. Talking about Ciryl Gane.
This guy getting fired up already.
Ciryl Gane, I got a chill.
Ciryl Gane already run the fight.
Come on, man. So when I talk about Ciryl Gane, I feel, honestly, RC, like he's like the evolution of mixed martial arts at the heavyweight division. Because I know Francis is big and Francis is powerful. We've seen guys like that before. Derrick Lewis is like that. We have not seen a Ciryl Gane, though. A guy that moves in the way that he moves, that can pick you apart, that can keep you at range and do the things that he's done. That's why I'm so interested in this fight between Derrick and Ciryl.
Well, if you listen to Derrick said, right, I got 25 minutes to touch him one time, because he has that type of knockout power. And then Ciryl Gane on the other side saying, you know what, I don't necessarily think he's the best I've fought. You know, this is a guy, he can punch, but he needs to work on his cardio. He doesn't necessarily have this larger array of skill. And in general, that's not trash talk. But if I'm Derrick Lewis, that's how I internalize it. Yeah. And we want to come out and we want to see a black beast that is feasting, a black beast that is chasing, a black beast that is trying to get that knockout. And I think we see that this fight. And the winner of this fight understands what's the next challenge. And even though you say the fight was boring, right? You say you didn't enjoy the fight. I remember a guy who used to play football talking to a former 2-division champ and saying that he thought another fight was boring. And all that guy told me was, well, he won the fight. Derrick Lewis won the fight. When you're fighting a guy like Francis Ngannou, that's what it takes. That fight's not that boring the next time, and I believe what we see this Saturday is what we will get in a fight like that. And so to you, if Ciryl Gane stands in front of Derrick Lewis and shows that array of skills, will we see that Francis Ngannou-Ciryl Gane matchup, or will it be Derrick Lewis, Francis Ngannou too?
Oh, let me tell you one thing. I can't pick. This is what I love about my job, calling the fights. I don't have to pick. That's on you to pick, but guess what you'll learn in fighting? People hate when you pick against them. The fighters are the most sensitive human beings on the entire planet. But here's the thing. For Ciryl Gane, this is massive because this gives him an opportunity to be in front of a big striker, big puncher like he's going to see in Francis Ngannou. But we're not in Houston for one fight. Yes. Jose Aldo returns. This is one of the guys
I already told you
that from conversation one, you have always liked. Yep. And he makes his return on Saturday in the co-main event. What Jose Aldo do you think we see in the return? Because he's got another big step up. He's got another big, massive fight in front of him.
You think you go back to watching him against Petr Yan, and he really just picked him apart. Jose Aldo came out aggressive. It was his first time back down at the weight. And so now we get to see him against another fighter, Munhoz, who needs this fight.
Yeah, they do.
Both of these guys are not necessarily gatekeepers, but trying to be back in a situation where they're counted as contenders.
Yeah.
And Jose Aldo, I told you this a long time ago when I told you why I liked Conor McGregor. He was the first small individual I was actually scared of. Can we see that type of explosiveness? Do we see it again? Or does Jose Aldo, even if he wins tonight, never get an opportunity to contend for a championship? Is he a guy like Anderson Silva who we will see fight other dudes who are coming up in the ranks so they can say, I fought Anderson Silva, I fought Jose Aldo, and now the UFC and Dana White gets to say, you be the legend, we can move you up and make you a contender?
You know, Jose Aldo still is very viable. The problem is when you've lost to the champion, right, and you have recreated yourself to get to this weight class, it's hard to envision a time where he becomes that true contender again. Is it not possible? I will not say that because I will never pull the curtain back on a guy that wants to fight, right? I can't do that. I refuse to. But if you look at everything, Pedro Munhoz and Jose Aldo, it does not look like right now is a time where those two are going to be contending for a championship, especially when Aljamain Sterling is fighting against Petr Yan, and then TJ Dillashaw's kind of waiting in the queue. But this is a great step, and a very fun fight that will lead to something bigger, especially for Pedro Munhoz if he can get past Jose Aldo, which will not be easy because Jose still possesses unbelievable power. He's still extremely athletic. And the guy is still motivated to become a champion, regardless of what we, the talking heads, say. He is a guy that still wants to be the champion.
Talking head now.
You know, once you hold that belt, you never lose that desire to become the UFC champion. I know that Jose Aldo, that still burns deep inside of him. But let's get back to Manscaped. We go one more time to our good friends over at Manscaped. Now, I don't know if I grabbed the same ad read twice. I'm not exactly sure, but let me pull here.
This is what happened when DC and RC are on site.
There it is. Here we go again, right? Breaking news, guys. Important PSA brought to you by Manscaped.com. The engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is now available for purchase in the U.S. and Canada. I'm one of the first people that have tried it, the 4.0. I'm blown away by the performance, the craftsmanship, the details on the 4.0, next level. It's beautiful. So join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DC at manscaped.com. And once again, if you're trimming your face with your body trimmer, it's time for you to make some changes and take a big look in the mirror. Get 20% off, free shipping with the code DC at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. And use the code DC. Unlock your confidence as always. Use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. RC, what do we got here? What do you got? You're pointing at something. What do you got for me?
Because you've been, we know that you were a great wrestler, an amazing career, and wrestling is on the front stage, but this time it's an American woman that brings home the gold.
Oh.
You know, and so you got to think about the excitement that you have if you're Tamara Mensah and you get an opportunity to bring home the gold for your country as the first African-American woman to do that, right, to accomplish that, and even get a shout-out from the UFC and Dana White.
Yeah, she did, man. Tamara, we're so proud of all that she did. She started wrestling down in Texas, in a state that's not traditionally known for wrestling, but she got a shout-out from the boss. You know, congratulations, Tamara Mensah, for being the first black woman to win a wrestling gold medal. I love your energy. I love your positivity. And we couldn't have asked for a better representative of our country. Now, that's just Tamara. I mean, That's her, right? She's bubbly, she's happy, she's excitable, and I love that she is the first black U.S. woman to win a gold medal. She wrestled a Nigerian woman in the final, so me and Kamaru Usman watched the match together. I'm yelling USA, you know, he's rooting for both, but for Tamara, it was a big deal. Guys, she's only the second woman to ever win a gold medal for the United States. So massive for Tamara. But you see my shirt. I got the USA right across my chest right now because it's Olympic time. And we got the guys that are scrapping right now, man. David Taylor did his thing. Gable Steveson, Thomas Gilman, Kyle Dake, who's a two-time world champion. The guys are doing fantastic in the Olympics, have been great. But Ryan, listen, I get it. There's big things happening all the time. And I saw your podcast, and you guys were talking to the great Troy Polamalu. And listen, the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah,
those dastardly Cowboys get to play your Steelers again.
As excited as you are about Tamara Mensah-Stock, I'm that excited about the Hall of Fame game. Not because anybody ever wants to play 5 preseason games or 4 preseason games and have an extra one, but because of Troy Polamalu getting an opportunity to go into the Hall of Fame. Truly one of the greatest people I've ever been around, one of the smartest humans I've ever been around, and one of the greatest football players of all time. So to have an opportunity to be there as he receives his gold jacket, man, would be one of the greatest honors of my football career, just knowing that I was a part of that journey.
But RC, just in terms of a Steeler class, right? Like, it's a big one for the entire organization.
Yeah, we got Alan Faneca is going in. Bill Cowher is going in. When you receive an invitation to the Steeler Hall of Fame party, not just Troy Polamalu, it's a huge deal. And I'll leave with this. At the Super Bowl 2 years ago, Bill Cowher goes in. Troy Polamalu's in, Alan Faneca doesn't get in, and we have this big dinner, and it's Franco Harris, and it's Mel Blount, and it's Rod Woodson, and you're sitting amongst all of this greatness, and you realize what that organization not only means to Pittsburgh, but means to football. And so to have a weekend where that organization and our organization is represented in the way that it will be is going to truly be a treat. And so I'll make sure I have my phone out with the ESPN Plus to make sure I can see UFC 265, but you better believe I have tears in my eyes watching those men who deserve those jackets get them.
Rightfully so, man. It's a great organization. And again, guys, it's been another great show. It's been fantastic. It's been fun. My man RC, thanks for getting on the plane, dog.
Man,
coming to see me. It's very close. We appreciate it. We love the support that we've been getting from you guys. Please continue to watch everywhere you can get your podcast. ESPN Plus on YouTube. That's DC and RC every single week. We're coming right to your living room, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.